Hi, everybody. Welcome to the KaiNexus Continuous Improvement Podcast. I'm Mark Graben, and today we are doing a quick preview of our next webinar in the KaiNexus Continuous Improvement webinar series. It's going to be presented on Monday, April 11th at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. It's titled Building a Learning Organization, Leadership Practices and Human Skills that Promote Learning. And today we are joined by Sabrina Malter. She is going to be the presenter for the webinar on April 11th. You can register right now. You can go to kainexus.com/webinars. And if you happen to be hearing this after April 11th, you'll be able to find the recording at kainexus.com/webinars. So Sabrina, thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Thank you very much. Thanks, I'm fine. And thank you very much for having me. I'm very happy to be here today.
Well, thank you in advance for doing the webinar. And as we do in these previews, first off, would just like to ask you, Sabrina, to introduce yourself to the listeners, tell them a little bit about yourself and what you do in your work.
Thank you very much, Mark. Yes, for an introduction, I'm Sabrina Malter. I'm living in south of Germany with my family, and I just started out with my own business. I started out in January after 25 years working in the pharmaceutical industry, in manufacturing, and before in human resources. And my passion is really, to help organizations learn and help people learn and help unveil the potential of organizations and of people. And therefore, my company I called Unveil Business Consult. That's really what I want to do. I want to create learning and growth for people and organizations. And what I did in my work before, I was helping with supporting transformation towards a lean organization. And in this context, I helped with a coaching capability program in order to help people or people leaders help their people to learn themselves and get better problem solvers and get better learners. Exactly. And so my passion to this topic grew, and so I thought I would like to do that and more in this field in more organizations.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And congratulations on starting your business. And a lot of the work that you do is framed around the lean methodology and Toyota Kata, among other phrases. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. The coaching capability program that I developed is inspired by Toyota Kata, but it was not very strictly following Toyota Kata. And was also inspired by, leadership coaching for compassion. What I now in the meantime, after I think it's 5 years or so ago that I started doing this, during this time I got much more in contact with Toyota Kata and with Kata Goal Geeks or with how they teach improvement Kata, and so I'm really changing my coaching capability program and build that much more in because I just learned and experienced that it's so valuable. Yeah.
So in the webinar, and again, the title is Building a Learning Organization, Leadership Practices and Human Skills that Promote Learning. In the webinar, Sabrina, I know you'll talk about the idea of building a learning organization deliberately and what are the leadership practices. But first off, how do you define a learning organization? What is that?
Yeah. Yes. For me, a learning organization is an organization where everyone, or at least nearly everyone, is learning continuously. And perhaps that sounds quite simple, but I think it's nearly found somewhere. And and I think from my experience, there are many obstacles in organizations that prevent learning for the organization. Perhaps not prevent learning for someone, but prevents learning across the organization, across all levels, and also exchanging the learning, so that if I learn something, and so that my colleague in another department can benefit from that because I share it. And yeah, sometimes that happens, but not really broadly. And I think for me, a learning organization wouldn't be perfect, but would be very much on this way. Yes, really learning and developing its way more to this ideal of learning and knowledge sharing. And there have to be some prerequisites that gets possible. Yeah.
I would agree with you. The idea of a learning organization is easier said than done.
Yeah.
Organizations might like to declare that they are a learning organization, or they may declare that they want to be a learning organization. And then I'm really looking forward to your webinar where you start filling in some of the detail then around leadership practices, things that people can do to really promote organizational learning. I would say at KaiNexus, we think our customers are really working toward building that culture of organizational learning, of creating a culture where, for example, it's safe for people to point out problems or to admit mistakes, and then turn to problem solving and process improvement, and then sharing broadly across the organization so that we can all learn from what individuals or teams are learning. I think that's where it gets really powerful.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And exactly what you just mentioned, this sense of psychological safety, that you can share ideas, and even if they are not really perfect, and if that you can even share mistakes so that everyone can learn from them. And that's perhaps really an expectation. And that's so much the basic of it all. If that doesn't work, then it's really the first thing I think that you have, or that an organization have to tackle.
Yeah. So we're going to learn a lot more during the webinar, April 11th, 1:00 p.m. Eastern time in the US. So you can register at kainexus.com/webinars. Again, for the webinar titled Building a Learning Organization, Leadership Practices and Human Skills that Promote Learning, presented by Sabrina Malter. And one other note I want to make is that the webinar, Sabrina will be presenting in English and doing the Q&A in English, but Sabrina is also going to be making available a German language recording that we'll make available to everybody who registers, so we can reach your friends and colleagues there in Germany and other German speakers, regardless of where they are. So again, we've been joined today by Sabrina Malter. Thank you for doing the preview today. Thanks for sharing a little bit about yourself and the webinar. Really look forward to it.
Thank you.